Okay, so there are two class sections in this class. There's an online section and there's the face-to-face section. And it doesn't matter to me in which section you are. Both sections are welcome to come to the lectures, and attendance is actually not required. Okay, so how I'm going to measure your attendance is whether you log into the class webpage and whether you do the work. So everything that you're going to need is posted on this class webpage. The times when the deadlines for dropping without a W, with a W, the time, the duration of the semester is all there, and it's broken down into 16 weeks. And we're going to go through most of these chapters in the textbooks. The textbook is going to be required for this class, unlike my other classes. You're going to need it here. It's on the syllabus, and I recommend that you buy it online. I don't even know if the bookstore has it. Do they have it? Yeah, well, I don't know if they have it, but.
I looked at the ISBN on the website and it wasn't there.
Oh, which?
For the bookstore website.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that. But.
I got it on Amazon.
Yeah, how much? 20 bucks?
More than that. Probably.
Okay, yeah. In the past, it used to be pretty cheap. For some reason, prices have gone up a little bit on this book. Yeah, don't buy it from the bookstore. Bookstore will sell it for like 120 bucks. You can buy it for like 20 online.
I bought it on eBay for pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be that expensive, but it's a limited supply of that textbook, so I guess that's why prices have gone up a little. Syllabus. Okay, so make sure you get the right textbook, because there's another one that looks like it, and that's why I have the ISBN in there. You want to get the enhanced edition. Okay, the other edition does not. It's not the same as this one. Okay, it's almost the same, but not exactly. Okay, so most of the class's grade is based on the assignments. They're spread, throughout the first 13 weeks. At week 13, I assign you a final project. The final project is going to be with graphical user interfaces, which you haven't done in probably any of the other classes unless you took Python and you do the calculator thing. That's the only GUI you would have done in this school. Yeah, it's going to have buttons. We're going to click on things. We're going to interact with windows and that kind of stuff. And the class does not assume any previous programming experience, but it will be nice if you have had some. But if you haven't, don't worry about it. My introduction to programming was Java, so I took Java as one of my first classes. So, yeah, syllabus, grades. I have like a little welcome message in there for you, and the online section. It talks about deadlines. So, the deadlines are. I know you from Hartnell, right?
Yeah.
All right. Long time. Okay, so the deadlines are turn it in within 7 days from the day when it was assigned. That's just like to keep you on track. Don't fall behind. Keep up with the assignments. They're not very hard. A lot of the stuff is look at the textbook. Start with one of the examples, then change it, and then once you do that, it becomes easier for you to do the actual assignments. So as far as things being late, I don't like taking points off for things being late. So that means that if you turn it in by the end of the semester, I'll grade it for full credit. Why would you want to turn in things early? Because I offer a regrade. Okay, so if you turn something in and you didn't get 100% on it, I'll let you know what's wrong. You can fix it, resubmit it, I give you full points back. Okay, and that's it. So it should be a pretty straightforward class. There's no reason for, not to get an A in my class, and I'll be happy to give all of you A's. Okay, just do the work with my assistance. If you have any questions, send me an email. I'm pretty good at answering the emails quickly, I'll get back to you within like 24 hours on the weekdays, 48 hours on the weekends, usually faster than that. So if you get stuck on anything, just let me know. Don't get frustrated. Don't go, trying to figure it out on Stack Overflow or some other, place online. I'll help you faster. If you're going to send me an email, include CSIS24 in the subject of your email. Also, you can include the assignment number to narrow it down for me so that I know what you're asking about. Yeah. And again, attendance is not required. The way I'm going to check your attendance is that, are you logging into the class web page? Are you turning in the work? Okay, every week. By the end of this week, you should turn in the assignments for this week so that when we talk about next week's topic, it makes sense. Okay, so this week, we're not going to do a whole lot. And it's just basically to get you started with Java. Actually, we are going to do chapter 1 from the textbook. So I know that you may not have the textbook yet. So I have set up the first 3 weeks so that you don't need the textbook. Okay, so if you click on the assignments, hopefully it's there. All right, I pretty much went in there and then typed up the questions, so you don't really need the textbook. A lot of these you can Google the answers for them. Okay. But this information will be in the textbook if you have the textbook. Okay, what's a computer program? What's a programming language? Etc. 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 Okay. And what I also do is I have a summary of the different chapters. So for every chapter that's in the book, I have like my own little summary. I went through the textbook, I read it, I summarized it. It's in there. Okay. So. Let's have a look at what's in chapter 1. Okay. So it talks about sidebar. All right. It talks about just the general things like what's a computer program, a bunch of instructions that the computer can follow. Programming is the act of writing programs. There's different kinds of programming languages. There's high-level, low-level programming languages. This happens to be one of the higher-level programming languages. Higher-level programming languages let you write things in human-like words and instructions. Lower-level languages are something like assembly, right? And they're very tedious to write. You have to literally tell it, move this piece of information from RAM to the processor, and then move this other piece of information from the processor to RAM. It gets really tedious. Okay, but this is one of the classes you have to take if you're a computer science major, and it helps you understand like completely how these instructions work. So at the highest level, so we have high-level languages like Java, C, C++. We have low-level languages like assembly language. Underneath assembly language, there's another language, and that's the machine language, executable files. If you have a Windows computer and you right-click on an executable file, you're going to see a bunch of garbled up, text and nonsense. That's the machine language. It's a bunch of ones and zeros. At the lowest level, a computer can understand whether electricity is flowing through a little circuit or it isn't. Either something's on or off, and we choose to represent those on or off states with ones and zeros. We don't write machine language. The lowest level language we write in is assembly. If you ever need to figure out how a machine language is working, you use a disassembler to convert machine language into assembly. Okay, that's how they figure out cracks and serial keys and in software, by disassembling it, the machine language into assembly. Okay, fortunately you won't have to do any of this stuff in this class. Okay, we're going to be doing Java, which is an interpreted language. Okay, interpreted language means that in Java there's actually no final executable file like in C++. You had an exe. There's no such thing in Java. Okay, it stops at one level before the final executable file. So the way the way, I don't know if I have a picture in this here. No, I don't. Okay, but the way it works, if you have a C++ program, the C++ program, you have your code, and then the code gets translated into an object code, and then the object code gets linked into a final executable file. Okay, and then you can just run the program. If you have like the Windows calculator or whatever, you just click it and it runs. You don't need anything for it. It just runs. Okay, interpreted language, you have the source code, it gets translated into object code, and it kind of stops there. It does not create a final executable file. Instead, you have the Java virtual machine, which is a program that interprets the object code line by line and executes it. Okay, so interpreted languages are a little bit slower. For an interpreted language like Java, in order for you to run the Java program, you need Java, right? Unlike C++, where you have the final executable and you just click it and it works. In Java, you need Java for the Java program to work. It's a little slower, but it actually makes it more portable. So these programs that we write, they can run on a little smartphone, they can run on a tablet, they can run on a toaster if the toaster can run it. Okay, so that's the advantages. That's the advantage of interpreted language. So it's more portable, cross-platform compatible, but it's a little bit slower, which in today's day and age and the speed of the computers, it doesn't really make a huge difference because they're really fast. Okay, so Java is an object-oriented programming language, which is why it's good if you have had a little bit of programming before, so that you can see the little pieces of the puzzle. In this class, the approach is you kind of see the big picture, and then I show you the little pieces, versus if you took Python or C++, I kind of show you the little pieces and I build the puzzle. So it works, okay, you're gonna get it. So objects, anything can be an object. The table is an object, you're an object, dog's an object. Pick a real world thing and you can name that thing an object. Okay, objects have properties, like you have your name, your age, your weight, right? And they also have methods. Methods are ways for you to change those properties. Maybe I want to change your age, maybe I want to change your weight, right? So the way I interact with objects is using their methods, and with these methods I can change the properties. The properties of objects are variables, right? And methods are functions. So just different names for the same thing if you've done programming in another language. Okay? There's two sections of every Java object. First of all, the way we build these objects in Java is using classes. Okay? So in order for me to create human objects, I'm going to have a class and I'm going to call it human, right? That'll be the template for humans. And from that template, I can create many different humans, different weights, different ages, heights, all kinds of stuff, right? That could be different between these different instances of the objects, right? Different types of these objects, okay? But every one of them is going to have, so every one of these templates or classes for an object will have its own data declaration section, which is basically we're going to define what properties are in the object, right? The age, the weight, and all that good stuff. And the methods, which is how we're going to change these properties, how we're going to show these properties. Don't worry, I'll show you plenty of examples. This is just giving you the big picture. All right, and there's just like an example here of what it looks like. So this is some class. The public is just refers to where this program can be visible from inside of other programs, if you want to say that. Okay, so the class is the template for an object, right? This is the name of my object, show first message, and then you're going to have some curly brackets to signify where this object starts and where the object ends, right? It ends at the bottom, starts at the top. In here you're going to have some properties. That's the data declaration message. And then after that you're going to have some methods, which is how you're going to show things, right? Don't worry about this. I'll get into detail later. Okay? Just like C++, if you've done C++, there's a main, which is where the program starts. Java's main is a little bit uglier than C++'s main. Python didn't even have a main. right? But at some point, I think I had you write a main so that you can see how it works in other programming languages. Well, this is one of those programming languages that are derived from the C++ programming language. Java is, it's has a C++ like syntax. In fact, I teach data structures, which is the next class after this, with Java, and I also teach it with C++, and it's almost the same identical syntax. If you decide to, you can treat Java almost as C++. Okay? So anyway, this is the public static void main string square brackets args. You need this for every one of your programs that is going to run. I know it looks like you have to type more, and it will seem like it's more tedious in the beginning, but the bigger the projects get, the more complicated the projects get, the easier it becomes to write them in Java. That's been my experience. Okay, if you want to work with strings, if you want to make GUIs, graphical user interfaces, dialog boxes, buttons, all those kinds of things, it's kind of a pain in the ass to do it with C++, but it's a lot easier to do it with Java. Okay, all these things just exist in the language. All right, and then I'll go over these things when I get to these topics. Okay, all right, so like they're already talking about variables, out, swing package. Okay, so I already told you that properties of objects are called variables. Variables are just words we make up to store the information. So if I have an object called human, I would have a variable called age to store the age information in it. The way I make up these variables are, I can make up whatever words I want. There's a few rules about the variable names, and those are these here, right? So basically, you cannot start with a number. And these are the same rules that we had in Python, same rules that we had in C++. Okay, so you can't start with a number. You can put the number in the middle of the word. You can put it at the end of the word. Okay, only letters, digits. So basically, no special characters. Okay, only underscore can be inside of a variable. Okay, I'm not sure about the dollar sign. Okay, no blank spaces. And it cannot be reserved words. I'll give you examples. Okay, some of these reserved words are to define what kind of information is stored. For example, double means this is going to be a decimal number. Integer means this is going to be a whole number. Okay, char is a character. String is a text. Okay, and again, I'll get into examples. Comments are just explanations for what your code is doing. Comments or how you document and explain your code to other programmers, and especially yourself. If you look at your code 3 months from now, you should be able to understand what it's doing. If you just wrote the code, and then you look at it 3 months from now, you're going to be just looking at the thing, and you're going to be going, what did I do here? Why did I do this? That's why you write some comments in there. Okay, the comments are not going to affect the performance of your program. They have no effect on the program. They're just for humans to read and understand how things work. Okay, this thing here that they're talking about is how you show output in in Java. It's similar to the Python, right? Except there's a system out in front, right? In Python, we did output with just print. In Java, you have to do system.out.print and then something else, right? That's how your program is going to show some message. These messages are going to work show in the command line or in the terminal, and I'll show you this in a second. Okay, the JavaX swing package. The swing package is how you make graphical user interfaces. So in the very beginning, in chapter 1, you already have created a little GUI in Java, which is something that we didn't do in Python until like week 13. We didn't do it in C++ at all. Okay. So that's what I'm saying, that this class, the approach of teaching this class is kind of like, here's the big picture, and now we're going to focus a little by little into the little pieces. Okay? And there's an example right here of a simple Java program. At the top I have import swing, then this is my class, then there's my main, which is where the program starts, and there's a bunch of text in there that basically makes this little dialog box. Okay, this is all built into the Java language. You just need to know how to use it. Okay, in the beginning of the class, we're going to be writing all of our code using just a basic text editor. So I want you to be able to write these from scratch, and then when you're comfortable with that, then you're welcome to use an IDE, which is an integrated development environment, which is going to help you write these GUI-like programs. So the GUI things, the real GUI stuff, the graphical user interfaces, does not start until chapter 9 and 10. So chapters 9 and 10, that's where we're going to start with the GUI. And that's what I'm going to tell you, okay, now let's start using Eclipse. I like Eclipse for making these GUIs because it provides really nice guidance through, as you're writing these programs. Okay, so that's basically the basics. And in here I have some examples of how to compile a program from the command line, right? So I'm going to show you this stuff right now. So, all right, I'm just going to, what to get. Right, this thing tells you to get Java EE6 SDK. You don't have to get that. Get the most recent one. All right. So first of all, if you have a Mac, it should already have Java installed on it. Does it? Try it. If you just go in there and type Java C, it shows something. Okay. So, all right. Let me show you. So first of all, if you're on a Mac, you open up the terminal. All right. And yours will look different, but if you play around with it, it'll look like mine. So anyway, if you have Java on your computer, you type Java C, and if you hit enter, and this kind of stuff shows up, then you have a working Java compiler. Okay? And if it tells you, I don't know what Java C is, then you got to go install yourself Java. Okay? So how are we going to install Java? Well, we just go to just Google JDK, right? JDK, right? And there's Java SE downloads, or there's Java SE development kit. SE is standard edition. EE is the enterprise edition. We're not going to write enterprise programs in this class, so you can start with the Java SE. You tell it I accept the license agreement. And then you download the Java that's appropriate for you. There's a Windows one, there's a Linux one, there's an OS X one. I'm pretty sure Linux will also have Java installed already. Okay, does it? Yes. Okay, so Mac and Linux are pretty much the same. It's a Unix operating system. Comes with Java because you need Java to run a lot of the programs that are in the operating system. Same thing with Python. Mac and Linux both come with Python installed because you need Python to run Python. Remember how these are Python and Java are both interpreted language, so you need Python to run Python, you need Java to run Java. Okay? For C++, you have standalone executable programs, you don't need anything. Okay? The installation, if you're on Linux, I'm sure you can figure out how to install Java, and if you're on Mac, you just download this thing and just once you install it, it just works. Okay? The more painful experiences with Windows. So I'm just gonna go to the virtual machine. All right, so there's my Windows. So when you go on Windows and when you go in there and you download, your Windows Java development kit, the JDK, and you install it, and then you go to your what is it called here? CMD. Okay, command prompt. Okay, when you go in there and you type Java C, I have already set up the path so it will work, but when you do it, even after you install Java, it'll tell you, I don't know what Java is. Okay? So it's not going to show this, it'll tell you Java C is unrecognized command or something like that. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to set up your path. Alright, how do you do that? So first, I'm assuming you downloaded Java, installed it, you click next until it's all the way done, right? And then Java is going to be installed somewhere on your computer. Where? I don't know, maybe program files, whoops, go away, program files, there's Java in there, there you go. So it could be in this program files, it could be in the other ones, the program files 860, what is it, 86, x86. All right, so in my case, it's in program files. There's a Java folder in there. There's the JDK, which is the Java Development Kit folder. In it, there's a bin folder. And in that bin folder is the Java C. This is my Java compiler. And this is my Java interpreter. So this is how we're going to compile our programs. This is how we're going to run our programs. When you initially install this thing on your computer, Windows doesn't know where it's installed. So we need to tell it where to find it. Okay? How we're going to do this? So I have to tell Windows where to find these two, the Java and the Java C. So what I have to do is I have to go to my environment variables. So I go press the start button, type env, edit the system environment variables. Right? I'm going to click that. Then this thing opens up, and then you have environment variables at the bottom. All right, and then there's a path one. There's two. There's one here, and there's another one there. All right. I guess start with these are for your profile, I'm pretty sure, and the other one is for the whole system. So I guess you can go with the whole system. Edit, and if you see, I actually added the path right here on the bottom. Oh, different keys for different purposes. Hold on. Let me close Edge. Okay, so this is the JDK bin. So how am I gonna get this? So I go in there, I navigate to where the Java C is, and I copy this right here. I copy the path to this thing, then I go in there and I add a new one. Right? Question?
Is this only for Windows?
That's only for Windows.
Okay.
For Mac, you don't have to do this at all.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you paste this thing in there, and that's my path, right? And that's it. And then you hit OK, right? OK this thing, and OK it again, OK it again. You might want to close the terminal or the command line if it's open, and reopen it again. CMD, and then when you do Java C, it will do this wall of text, which means that it recognizes it. Okay, so you have to do this to set up path on Windows. If this is for Windows 10, I have another instruction online showing you how to do it for Windows 7, but pretty sure most people are on Windows 10 now. Okay, and then after you have, question?
This is for Mac. Sorry, I didn't know.
What's up?
So I've been trying to run the basic first program to just say, well, hello world, and I'll type in Java C, and it comes up with all this stuff for Java, so I know it's installed on my computer. But then when I try to run the program and do the whole thing,
I'll show you how to compile and run
Okay.
it right now, and it will be the same for whatever.
it just says it doesn't work.
All right, I'll show you. Okay, so, all right, so I'm gonna just leave Windows behind for now, and what I'm going to do is,
I have a question.
yeah.
I already have Eclipse installed, and that's why I write all my programs in Java. Is it okay if I continue to use that?
Eclipse, you mean? Yeah, sure. Yeah, but it would be nice if you know how to do it from scratch.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, so next thing is let's write a basic Java program. So let me close this one. I'm gonna do new. Okay. So what I'm doing is I am using Sublime text editor, and Sublime is available on any operating system. That's why I'm using it. So whether you're on Windows, whether you're on Mac, whether you're on Linux, you can use Sublime. Okay, you can use whatever text editor you feel like. If you want to use Notepad, knock yourself out. Okay, but I don't recommend it. So Notepad++, yeah, for Windows that's good. Yeah, I used to use that.
Is this better?
I mean, because I'm on a Mac now, that's why I'm using Sublime. I don't have the Notepad++. For me, I like this one best for Mac. So for any operating system, I just stick with this. But it doesn't matter. Use whatever you want. Notepad++ is good. So I'm going to make the first Java program. So I'm going to just say class human, because I keep telling you about humans, right? Okay, so this is going to be my template for an object, all right? And I'm going to do curly brackets, right? And that's it for now. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this thing. I'm going to put it on in fall 2017, somewhere in there. New folder, CSS 24. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to save my file as, I'm going to save it as human, same exact name as my class, Java. Just for now. You don't have to do this, but we'll simplify things for now. Okay, so my file name, human.java, and now colors started showing up in Sublime. So Sublime recognizes it's a Java program, starts changing colors accordingly. In here I'm going to have my public, static, void, main. Bless you. And it kind of writes it for me, but not very good. Public, static, void. Let me get rid of this piece. Sublime is good, but it's not as good as it thinks it is. Okay? So there you go. There's my main. There's my main. In there, I'm going to do a system out print ln. Hello world. Right? The first thing that you're supposed to do in any programming language is get some message out of the program, make sure it works, and you usually start with a hello world. Okay? So let's run the program. So this is my program, and it's saved in the CSIS 24 folder. Right? There it is. There's a human.java in there. And let's see what happens. So what I'm going to do is I got to go with my terminal to where this thing is saved. Right? So right now I'm in my own home folder, and in there I can do a ls. Right? ls shows me what are the folders in there. I have a desktop, so I'm going to do cd desktop, and then this is in fall something, forget what it's called. Oh, there's a space in there. So there's another way for me to open this faster, but I'll show you. So fall 2017. Oops. I think I have to do backslash. There you go. So I'm in the fall 2017 folder. In there, oops, I have CSIS 27. I can do CD CSIS 27. Now I'm in that folder. Okay, if I'm in Windows, the easiest way to navigate in your folder is, let's say I have a folder here, right? And this is where my Java program is saved. Okay? So someplace on your computer is where you saved your program. You clicked and you're going to right click on the white space, but you're going to press shift first. So you press shift, right click, open command window here, and that opens it straight into the window where you need it. Okay, so shift, right click, and the white space opens it there. If this thing is on the desktop, I press shift, right click, come on, new open command window here, and it's opening it in the desktop. Okay, so shift, right click, opens it quickly. There's a similar setting for a Mac. You can Google how to set it up that way, but for me, that's why I don't bother myself. So I will just go in there. I'm going to right click, not in here. I'm going to right click on these folders right there, services, and new terminal at folder, and it opens it straight into the folder where my program is. So I don't have to go CD. Okay? So here I am. Question?
So, I was able to open the LS, and then I got all the things popping up, like the desktop and all the folders and stuff. But then I'll try to type in one of the folders like CD desktop or CD music, and then it will just show up with nothing.
I gotta look at it. I'll show you.
I think Sublime wants me to pay for
You don't have to pay for Sublime. It will pop up with like a little ad thing. Would you like to purchase? Just say cancel, and
Yeah, I just.
it will do it when you save.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so just cancel it and save again.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so let's say I'm in the folder where my programs are. Okay, so the easiest thing to do is make sure it's just a one single folder where maybe you just have a CSIS24 folder on your desktop so it's easier to navigate. All right, so I'm in there and I did ls, and you can see that there's my program human Java is in there. So now I'm going to compile it, Java C human, and if you just tab it, as soon as you start typing things, and if there's, you know, it has an autocomplete, so if you just tab, it autocompletes, right? And then I'm going to hit the enter key, and you're going to see a new file is being created up here. Okay, so from the human.java we created the human.class. Okay, this is similar to how C++ works. C++ would have like an object file. This is the object file for Java. Okay, now we're going to tell the Java virtual machine to run this file. We're going to say Java human, just that. Hit enter, and that's it. There's your hello world. That's the message that my program showed. All right? So that's the first step in any programming language. Get the hello world out of the way. Okay? So next thing is showing you some of these other things. So let's do the print. All right, I'm going to do print, hello, and then world. Like that, actually. I'll get rid of the space. Alright, so I changed the program. You can tell that it's changed because in Sublime, this thing turns into like a little circle. And when you save the program, it goes back to an X. Okay, so once I have saved the program, in Sublime, I think there's even a shortcut to build this. I think it's the Command key B on a Mac, and then it compiles. Okay, on Windows, I think it's Control B. Alright, but don't count on it to work. For some reason, it doesn't always work on Windows computers. So let's do it from the command line. Alright, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to recompile it. So I made some changes, recompile, and then you can do the arrow up. So instead of typing things, you go arrow up a couple times, and there's the old command. Hit the enter, compiles again, and then run it. And now the hello world, notice how it's right here. Right? Before it looked different, right? This was the old one. It was on a single line, and then here it's like it's all crunched up together. So the reason for this is because print does not automatically introduce a new line at the end of it. Okay? So I can do hello \n here, \n here, save it, go back to the command line, compile this thing, run it. And now you see the one word is on one line, the other word is on another line. Okay? So print with a \n, this is actually the same as print ln, right? So whether you do it this way or this way, the effect is the same. Okay? So \n is how we introduce the new line. If I wanted to go and put a new line here, save this, compile, run, right? And then you can see it breaks it down into more new lines. Okay, so these are the basic things. That's what you know, that chapter summary was telling you about. What else? So let's just do something very basic. Let me show you. First of all, any questions about any of this stuff? Make sense? All right. So I said let's have some properties for this human. So we'll go with age. So we're gonna have an int age, right? So this int means this is an integer, right? Integer is a whole number. Okay? So integer age is the name of the variable. Age is the name of the variable, right? And then maybe I'm going to put another comment in here. So println automatically inserts a \n, right? And \n is how we show a new line, okay? And if you remember, I told you that anything with 2 forward slashes is a comment, right? So comment anything starting with 2 forward slashes. Okay, so now if I go in there and I'm gonna save my program, that's the little purchase thing that's gonna pop up. Just cancel, save, again, and you're good. Okay, you don't have to buy it. I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna compile my program, I'm gonna run it, nothing changed. Okay, so comments do not affect your code at all. They're just explanation for you and me. All right, so this is the property. This is the data declaration section. That's what the book's telling you, right? Data declaration section. This is where the variables are. Okay, so we're gonna have one variable called age, okay, which is of the integer type, which means we're gonna store a whole number in it. Okay, and then I'm going to have methods, right? And don't worry, this is going to get visited and revisited in the subsequent chapters after this, plenty of times. So, but at the very least, I want to have a way for me to show the age, right? So I'm going to have void show age, and in here I'm going to do another system out println age equals plus age. Okay, and I'm going to have another one. I'm going to call it void change age. Well, let's just make it a real one. Yeah, change age and new age. All right, and then in here I'm going to say, all right, my age is equal to this new age. Okay, so let's call this is an accessor method. Accessor method to access the variables. Right, and this is show to access to show the variable, and this one is mutator method, and the book calls it that. I'm not making these up. Mutator method, right, to change the variable. Okay, so this is the program. So if I run this thing the way it is right now, you're going to see no difference. I haven't done anything different. So remember, whatever's going to happen in this program is going to happen in the main. If I don't put it in the main, nothing's going to happen. So I'm saving it. I'm going to go back to the terminal. I'm going to compile it. I'm going to run it. Same thing, right? Hello world broken down into 3 different lines. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make myself a new object or an instance of the human type. So create a new object or a new instance of the human class. Okay? So this is the instance, right? I'm going to have human me is equal to new human. Just like that. This is how you make a new object or a new instance. Okay, create a new object, me. Okay, new instance of the human class. And what I can do is I can show you the age of me. All right, so let's see. So I'm gonna go me dot show age. Okay, so show the age of me. Okay, so what do you think is going to be the age? I didn't give it an age. Garbage?
Yes.
Garbage is what C++ would do,
Zero?
but Java is nicer. Yes, it is a 0. So Java automatically, whenever you have, if you create variables, if it's an integer or a double or a float, Java will automatically make them zeros in the beginning. All right? And to demonstrate, all right, I'm going to compile this thing, run it, and it shows you age is equal to 0.
That's nice.
It is nice. Java is way nicer than C++. Okay? And one thing I really like about Java is it got rid of all the pointers. There's no pointers in Java. So it's awesome. Okay? All right, so me show age, and then I can change the age of me. So I can go me dot change age, and I'm gonna go and give it 10. Right? That's the new age. And I'm gonna go me dot show age, and I'm gonna do that. That's it. So I'm gonna save it, go back to the terminal, compile, run, and now the age goes to 10. Okay? Questions?
It's nice.
It's nice. All right. So let's make another object. And by the way, notice how the default value is a 0. What if I don't want to have a 0? This right here is actually the constructor. Okay. So this piece. This is the default constructor.
You just put the number in there.
You could, yes, you could. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my default constructor. So if you do not write, if you do not write the default constructor, Java will write it for you. Right? And make everything 0. Right? If you have a string, it'll make it equal to no. If you have numbers, it'll make them zeros. Okay? What if I don't want to start with a 0? Right? Here when I go, it shows me age is equal to 0 initially. Maybe I want to start with something else. So I'm gonna write my own default constructor. Alright? So this is the default constructor. And this default constructor is just another kind of a method. So these other methods, notice they have the word void in front. Void just means that they don't return anything. We'll get into that later. Okay? The constructor that I'm going to write is not going to have that at all. So what is the constructor? It's a method that has the same exact name. So default constructor is a method that has the same name as the class. Okay? So I go in there and I say, all right, human, like that. And then in there, what Java does by default is Java does this. Okay? So if you don't do this, Java will do it for you. Maybe I want to change this to -9. Okay? I'm going to save this. I'm going to compile my program again. And now my age starts at 9.
That's all you have to do.
That's all you have to do. Yeah. So the default constructor is where you set the initial values for your object. All right. Default constructor is where you set the default values of your variables. Okay. So that's one. And there's another type of constructor. So you see how this works? Okay. Let me go in there and make another one. So I'm going to make another. I'm going to copy this one. Okay, so I'm going to create a new object U now. All right. So it's going to be basically the same story, U. All right. And sure, I can do the same thing to U. I can say U dot show age. All right. And then you're going to see another one. So let's just run it. compile, run. Right, this last one is the U. Okay, so, but maybe I don't want to start every new instance. I don't want to create, so this was my first instance, this is my second instance. Maybe I don't want to have, you know, that every instance start at a -9. So I'm going to, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to say, all right, well, this one here is going to be 100. Okay, I want to start this thing with a value of 100. Okay, then I'm going to get my constructor, copy it, paste it here. So this is, I think they call it explicit constructor. Don't quote me on it, but look at the book. All right, and then this thing is going to work similar to this change age. In fact, I'm just going to copy this whole thing. The whole thing's going to be the same. Paste. All right. So I'm going to have a variable called new age, and so by the way, okay, so I forgot to mention, this here means we're calling the methods, Okay, and I understand if it's a lot of information, if it's for your first programming class, don't worry about it. Okay, we're going to repeat this a couple of times until you get it. Okay, so I'm just going over the whole thing so that I go over it many times so it sinks in. So calling the methods, this is me calling this method, the show age method. This is calling change age. This is calling show age. This one here is calling show age again. Right? This is how we're going to call the methods. So what I'm going to do here, when I call a method, what happens is this. My program starts working from inside the main, right? It works top to bottom. So we execute this line, then we execute this line, then we execute this line. Then as soon as we go to this one here, we execute this line, but this line is actually calling a method. Okay, so as soon as you call the method, you jump to the definition of the method and you execute whatever's inside of this method. Okay, so when we're done, when we get to the end of this method, we return back to the main where we call this, right? And then we go to the next one. Then we call this method. As soon as we get to this call, we jump up, we execute whatever's inside this method, and then we return back to this. Right? Then we go to the next line, we call the next method, which is show age. We go back up, we execute this piece of code, and we return back to my main. Right? I go to this one, I'm going to call the constructor. Right? By the way, I did the same thing here. So I called this constructor, that means we jumped up, we executed this piece of code, this piece of code. Okay? Right here, I'm calling this constructor. That means at this line, at line 55, in my main, we're going to jump back up to my default constructor. What happens is this value 100 gets sent over into this variable new age. So this here becomes equal to 100, right? We're passing the 100 into this method. This variable is now 100. Age is equal to 100. What is the age? Age is just this variable that is here. Okay, so this is called an instance variable. Okay, so every instance that I create, me has its own age, you has its own age. That's why these are instance variables. Every instance has its own of this kind, its own variable of this kind. Okay, later on I'm going to show you some class variables, and oh, by the way, this here is a parameter variable. And again, don't worry, I know I'm overwhelming you with a lot of information. Don't sweat it, okay? I'm just showing you the big picture. I don't expect you to write this yet, okay? But that's it, okay? So now we're gonna create a new human with an age of 100, hopefully. I didn't mess anything up. I haven't had a single syntax error so far. I'm impressing myself, right? So age 100, so now I created a U with the age of 100, okay? And then I can go and change the age of U also. U.change age, make it equal to 0. Then U.show age, Okay, and that's going to show us a 0. Okay, so there's a 0 at the bottom. Any questions? Okay, so now you know how to write a basic Java program. And we did it from scratch with a basic text editor from the command line. Nothing fancy needed. Alright, so let's see what else I have to tell you. So week 1.
Teaching all those?
Yeah. I'm doing those, and I'm doing another one online at MPC. I don't have to drive to MPC anymore. Yeah. So, okay, week 1. I would have been teaching more actually.
They let you?
Nah, I convinced them for next semester.
Oh, there you go.
I'm getting my
Traffic.
huh?
Traffic is the problem.
Traffic.
So,
Yeah. Oh, not in the morning. Well, yeah, in the morning if you go to it's like 8, 9. What's up?
So, could you go over how to, like compile again in Java, but like to do all the folders and stuff like that too?
Like from the
Yeah. from
like
the
how to
web.
navigate and stuff
Yeah,
you mean?
how to start it off. 'cause
All
I
right.
know how to code and
So here's what I would
It's not
recommend.
running.
I would recommend to do this. So let's say this Java folder, because I have my Mac, kind of tweaked so that it's almost unrecognizable compared to a regular one. So let's go with this. So let's say I'm going to make this folder CSIS24 and close Sublime because it will probably complain something. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put this thing on the desktop. There. Right? So create a folder on your desktop called CSIS24. No spaces in the name. Right? Okay. And then I'm going to go to the terminal. And I'm going to open a new terminal. Right? And in yours, it's going to show you your names, MacBook Pro, whatever, bunch of long text. It'll look a little different. Okay? But it's basically the same thing. So right now, if you do pwd on your computer, you're going to see users and then your username. Okay? Correct? All right. So next thing you're going to do is you're going to do ls. And when you hit that thing, you're going to see desktop in there somewhere. Okay? The next thing you're going to do is you're just going to do cd desktop, in fact. All right? CD desktop, and then the name of the folder that you created, CSIS24, CSIS24, right? CD desktop / CSIS24, you hit the enter key and then you're in it. And then in there, you're gonna have, if you do ls, you're gonna see 2 files, all right? There's the human.class and there's the human.java. Alright, which is basically this right here. Okay, I can delete it. I can delete the class rm human class. Now it's gone. Okay, and then I have to recompile it to create that file. So I do java c human.java. Okay, that creates the class file. Then I do java human, and the program runs. That's it. Okay? So to get this thing started, again, one more time. Terminal, come on, work. Alright, I can just go cd desktop CSIS24 right off the bat. Okay, you don't have to do pwd or any of that other stuff. So you just go cd straight to the folder that you need, and then in there just do ls to see what files are in it, and then just compile the way I showed you and run it. Okay, nowhere I can show you again after class. Any other questions? Okay, so what do you submit? Oh, and by the way, there's some other textbooks out there and other places where you can learn Java. That's fine. You can read through them, but you don't have to. All right, so first of all, let's have a look at these exercises that we have for this week. Question?
Use the book at the library, I mean, not the library, the bookstore.
I don't think so. Yeah, so that's what I have done is for the first 3 weeks, I have set it up so that you don't need the textbook. The assignments are from the textbook, but I pretty much wrote them out for you. But then after that, you should, get it, order it, so it ships here within a couple weeks. That should give you enough time.
Is the book take Java or is it?
The book is in the syllabus. So if you go to the home page, yeah, if you go to the home page, you click on the syllabus, it's in there. I give you the ISBN so you can order it. Easy. All right, so let's have a look at this. All right, so the first one asks you to define these different terms. What's a computer program? What's a high-level language, low-level language, all that good stuff. A lot of this stuff is pretty much in the summary that I told you. Okay? The difference between high-level languages, low-level languages, procedure-oriented language, and object-oriented language. I'll tell you what the difference between procedure-oriented language and object-oriented language is. Object-oriented language is like a procedure-oriented language where everything is wrapped into a class. That's it. Okay? So procedure-oriented language is C++. Everything we did in C++. You have a main, you have a bunch of functions, and that's it. We didn't get into classes, right? Java has all those things that are in C++, but it wraps the whole thing into another something called an object, the class. So you can group the functions or methods into something else, okay, and reuse them. So that's it, right? So procedure-oriented language, you just have a bunch of procedures or functions or methods all by themselves in the world. Object-oriented language, you bundled all those things into another thing called an object. Okay? This one here, assume that you are to create a plan for a Java program that simulates the selection of a state lottery that randomly selects 4 numbers. For this plan, list the data items and set of methods that would be useful for such a program. So, help me out so I can help you.
Do like integer numbers 1, 2, 3, 4?
There you go. Okay, so let's do a little hint here. So this is hint for.
And we can just type that like in a,
You can type this in whatever you want, a text file. Yeah, this. By the way, these are not going to be actual programs yet. Just words.
it's like written like a program.
Yeah, you could write the class and the program if you like. No big deal. That's fine too. So anyway, assume that you have to create a plan for. So this is hint 1.28, right? So we have a state lottery. State lottery. 4 numbers. Is that what we said? 4 numbers. And list data. List the data items and list methods. Okay, so you said what are the data items? The four numbers, right? The data numbers are num1, num2, num3, num4, right?
Would the
4.
class be just lottery?
Huh?
Wouldn't you put class as lottery? Do you have to name
Class lottery. Does it say anything about a class? Plan. Sure. We'll name it. So it'll be like, class lottery. I'm not sure how to spell lottery. Yeah, lottery. Right. Then the data items will be 4 numbers for the lottery. Right. The methods. What methods do you think you're going to need?
like a random number generator?
Or sure, you could do generate a random number.
You can see the numbers?
See the numbers.
Since you're looking at 22 boundaries, you can randomly pick 4,
that will be, yeah, the boundaries of the random numbers will be within the random number generator thing. See the number, what else? Remember, you need accessor methods to show them, to see them, and then you need mutator methods to change them. Right? So yeah, you would have something to generate the random number, you're going to have something to see the numbers, and you're going to have something to change the numbers. Change the numbers. That's it. What else? That's it. Done. Okay, next one. 1.29. So, and 1.29. Okay. So assume that you are to create a Java program that calculates the floor space of a rectangular room. For this plan, list the data items, set of methods that will be used for such a program. Select your own class name and data item names. So we kind of already did this for the previous one. So we can just kind of recycle. So I'm just going to copy this stuff. All right. So this one is room, what is it called? Floor space. All right, floor space. All right, what do you want to call the class? Area makes sense to me. Okay, what are the data items? Length and width. All right, and what methods do we need? We're gonna see that. Yeah, we're gonna at least see length and width. Sure. Calculate area. All right, let's do this. Calculate area. All right, and why don't I call it? So this is how you would name the things, and right, we can have C length. You can underscore. You can do C underscore width. Right, you can do that too, and you can say change length, change width. Well, we only need area, I think, right? I guess. You can also, find a perimeter of the room or something. Okay? So, does that make sense?
Would we need to have area as a data item?
Sure.
For the result?
Sure. Area. That makes sense. Okay? So, yeah. So that's pretty much that one. Next one, sample programs. So in here, I have a couple of sample programs for you. Type them up. One thing, very important thing that I didn't mention is, okay, every program that you're going to be turning in, every one of them, needs to have at least the following comments. So you need to have your name, all right, date, program name, number, whatever, okay, and description. Okay, you need to have this on top of every program. All right, need to have these 4 comments on top of every program. Okay, this is going to be I'm going to be taking points off if you don't have this, right? I'm going to say something like 20% of the grade. Okay, 20% of grade is this. Just having these 4 lines. If you don't have them, you went down to 80, and you're going to see a comment. You forgot your comments, and then you're going to have to go and fix it, and you have to re-upload it, and you're going to open up more work for me. Okay, so get it right in the beginning if possible. So we're going to have to go through this. And then the next thing is, where's the terminal thingy? Let me just run this. So I'm going to go in there, Java C, human, Java, human, and this is my program. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to copy this. Okay, if you're on Windows, I think you have to do right click and copy or something like that, or just enter. No, I think just highlighting it copies it. On a Mac, you can copy normal. And we're going to put this at the bottom. All right, and we're going to use multi-line comments. Multi-line comments are comments that start with /* and end with */. So this is multi-line comment, meaning that anything in between these two is going to be a comment. I don't have to go and put 2 / in front of every line. Okay? So show how program ran, tested. And this is going to be, I don't know, let's make it 30% of your grade. Okay? So if you missed the comments on top, right? Alex S date, what's today? 8/29. Okay? And why don't we do this? Date started and date finished. Right? If it's the same date, put one date, right? If you took you a couple of days, put the both days. Program name, I don't know, what's this? This is Chapter 1 sample programs. Chapter 1 sample programs, something like that. Okay? And it will be good if you let's call it, yeah, Chapter 1 sample programs. No, let's call it this. I'm going to say human.java, and you can even put next to it some comments to show yourself. All right. So to run, you do Java C human.java. Sorry, that's to compile. Okay, and to run this thing, you do Java human. Right? That way, if you look at your first program name number, let's say this is, I don't know, page 123 of textbook or something. Okay? So this tells you, I'm explaining to myself and others how to compile my program, how to run the program. Okay? That way, if you get lost at some point, you go look back at your programs and that's it. All right? So now this is done. You know what to submit. Comments on top, comments on the bottom to show me how the program ran. And then how do you submit this thing? Let me go switch student, go to student view so I can show you. Student view, week 1. We're at the sample programs. All right. All the way at the top, there's submit assignment. Click. This thing shows up on the bottom. Choose the file. Go to the desktop where I had this, CSS24. I want the Java file, not the class file. Okay, if you give me the class file, you get a 0 because I can't see the code. Okay? Then you see a feedback. I need the Java file. Then you got to go and upload the new file. Okay? Submit assignment. And then wait for it to eventually figure its thing out. Canvas sucks. Okay? This is what's going to show up. Submission turned in, blah, blah, blah. If you submit something else after this, let's say I decided I'm going to make a change. I'm going to re-upload a new file. You're not going to be able to see your original submission. Okay? It's another one of the flaws of Canvas. You know, if you have multiple assignments and you turn in part of them, and then you turn in the rest, you're not going to see the earlier versions of, the earlier work you turned in. Another thing that I need to warn you about is the grades. Not the grades, but the stupid grade book that Canvas has. See this little checkbox right here? This will mess with your grades every time. I had students in the summer semester telling me, well, I thought I have an A in the class. I'm like, no, you don't. You have a C in the class because you didn't click this little thing here. And this, basically, let's say we have, I don't know, 50 assignments in the class. You turned in 2 and you got 100% of them. This will tell you, oh, you have an A in the class. Okay, welcome to Canvas. I'm lobbying to get rid of it. So
you must click it?
you have to click it in order for you to see your true grade. Okay, so click this. So it's basically unchecked. The default setting for this is to be checked because the Canvas software developers are idiots, and they figured that, hey, why don't we just confuse students with their grades by default? Okay? So, and there's no way for me to disable it for you, because this is not an open source software that I can really play with the way I used to with Moodle. Okay? And if you don't know what Moodle is, it's the old software we used for like a decade. All the California community colleges used it for a very long time. It's free, but we decided to switch to this thing, which is paid for software, which is just total garbage. All right, so now you know how to submit an assignment. You know how to look at your grades. Make sure you check your grades often so that you make sure that you are doing the things the right way. You don't want to be just turning in things and, you know, hopefully they work, and then you look at your grades and nothing's really done the right way. So check, and look at the feedback that I have left you. Also, back up your own work in your like Google Drive or some other place so that you don't rely on Canvas. I don't want you to, you know, lose your, you know, old work the way you could with this thing. Last assignment for this week is this year using the Java X Swing, and in there I have another sample program. Right, this is the sample program with a bunch of comments. So notice what I say. Please type in the sample program below, including the comments. So please type in all the comments in there, because the comments explain you, or at least these here, explain you what's what and how it's working. Okay, so type these up. You're going to get the program to work. You're going to compile it. And you're going to have a little dialog box that shows up. Okay? You can't, you know, paste this dialog box on the bottom as a multi-line comment. What you're going to do is you're going to take a screenshot. You can use the print screen on your Windows computer. You can do the Control Shift, what is it, 3 or 4 on the Mac, right? Command Shift number 4 lets you take a screenshot. You take a screenshot, right? Let's say this is my dialog box. Take a picture of this, and then I go back and let me submit assignment. So for a GUI program, I'm going to turn in my file. I'm turning in just the same file, just, you know, first, because I don't want to type the other one, right? And then I'm going to add another file. This is for graphical user interface programs, for the screenshot, how the program ran, right? Looks like a lame screenshot, but whatever, right? And then I'm going to upload that too. Okay, submit, and wait for it, and eventually you're going to see your file, Java file in there, and your other one. Okay? Questions? We're good? Okay. Let me double check and see if there's anything I want to tell you. So yeah, you know how to submit assignments, you know how to submit a GUI program, you know how to write your programs and what to include, comments on top, comments on the bottom, showed you how to compile and all that good stuff. So yeah, you just have a couple of baby assignments for this week. Make sure you finish them before we start with the next week. Next week will be more of the same. I kind of went over these things. What's a method? What's a constructor? The next chapter gets into detail a little more. Okay? So you will learn some new terminology. If you get stuck, send me an email. Don't worry about it. Anytime, just send me an email and I'll get back to you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for taking the class. You're good to go. And if you want to stay after class, I can do that and help you out. My office hours are going to be posted online, so you can see them, but it's all going to be after classes Monday through Thursday.